Welcome to the Single in the Suburbs podcast.
Grab a drink and join us as we talk about the good,
the bad,
and the WTF of modern singlehood.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Sarah.
Cheers, ladies.
Hello there, and welcome back to Single in the Suburbs. This week, we're going to talk about a very fun subject. What might be one of the more awkward parts of dating is who's going to pay the tab.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that part of the date. I never know, am I supposed to offer? Should I not offer? Then if I do offer and they accept, how do I feel about that? It's just like so much to take in.
Are you coming out there as an independent woman who doesn't need anyone to pay for them? Or are you going to let them? I don't know. It's in today's dating age, it is a big question of the day, especially the way you're meeting people and if you're going out often. How have you handled it, Sarah? Who pays the tab?
Well, I always find it interesting because I am looking to the man to kind of see, is he grabbing the bill when it comes to pay it, or is it sitting there for 20 minutes? There was this one situation that I had where we went to dinner. I thought it was going really well, and he just let the bill sit there forever. So finally I was like, okay, I pick it up, and I don't mind paying for my part. Obviously I am perfectly capable. I'm not paying for you, but I'll pay for myself, no problem. Do you want to go Dutch? He's like, yeah, I think that'd be wise, just because, the last time I tried to take a girl out and pay for her, she got really mad that I offered. And I'm thinking, bullshit. No, I don't care if you're a man. You would not care if somebody else paid for you, but that's fine. Like, I'm totally chill with paying for myself. That's fine. No big deal. So I paid for myself. He paid for himself. Leave, whatever. And I get a call. Like, literally, I haven't even left the restaurant. I'm in my car. He's like, hey, I just want to let you know I had the best time. And I'm canceling all my dates this week. And I want to be exclusive.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, but you couldn't even pay for my bill. Obviously, you weren't.
Maybe that's why he wanted to be exclusive. He found somebody that was willing to
pay the bill.
He needed to make sure, or he needed to make sure he had enough money. So next time he could take you out, he's going to cancel all the other dates so he doesn't have to spend any money there.
There we go.
He's going to spend it on you.
Yes.
What a thing to say. I'm going to cancel all my dates.
Let's be exclusive. That's funny. Well, it's I follow this social media page that is really funny. I know you guys know which one it is, and it's about kind of like single women talking about guys that they have dated and whether there's red flags or not.
Oh yes.
And there was a topic on there this week, and there was this woman who said that the guy paid for the first date. And then when she declined a second date, he asked for her to reimburse him.
Oh, I've heard of that too.
Yeah, what
I've heard of some people like Venmo requesting and stuff after a date and stuff.
That's crazy.
Incredibly ballsy, in my opinion, to be like, oh, you don't want to go out with me? You owe me $25.04.
I did get pretty mad at somebody that I'd been seeing recently where I'm driving around town and the plans got changed, and I really wanted to Venmo request him for wasting my time and money on gas, Anyways, but that was the evil side of me that was thinking that way. But I think though that it's interesting too, because sometimes the waitress comes up to the table just as awkward, not sure, like they can tell you're on a first date usually.
Yeah. Oh, you can always tell who's on a first date.
I've seen like the waiter or waitress also kind of awkwardly have the check, like, who do I hand it to? Do I put it in the middle? Do I set it down and run?
Well, I think what's confusing is when nobody's addressing it.
Right.
And it's just sitting there. And I've had dates where the person just like immediately grabs it, throws the card in, and gives it back to the lady. That makes it very clear. I've had situations where ahead of the date, they're like, hey, I want to take you out.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go? Which just clears the air a little bit. And I try to not take advantage of guys. So he'll pay for dinner, and then if we're walking around and grab ice cream, I'll pay for the ice cream.
Yeah.
Just
generous.
Well, just... Yeah.
He bought the steak. I'll buy the one scoop, single scoop only. Don't think about it.
Gelato, man. It wasn't a McDonald's ice cream.
I do usually try to pull my card out and at least pretend I'm going to help.
You're like, do you want me to get it?
I don't want people to think I'm taking advantage or anything.
I think
it is nice when someone pays for you, male, female, whatever. It is nice to be treated in life in general. But I do often offer. And then they can say, oh, no, I want to do this. And then, they genuinely want to do it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think what's interesting is that I have always just sort of offered, but clearly that's not a great strategy for me because I'm not getting a lot of second dates or third dates or things like that. And when I'm bringing this up to other friends and they're saying,
I never pay.
I never pay. I would never consider paying. And I'm thinking, is that it? Like, do I need to just act like I don't want to help? Or
But how long do you sit there? I mean, when they are not picking up the bill and they're just sitting there, and it's
he was just enjoying the time so much with you because he wants to be exclusive.
Was he though? Because that's the thing is that I had a date and the bill sat there forever, and so I'm thinking I got to get going, but he clearly is having a great time with me and doesn't want to leave. Yeah. Well, then the next day though, he calls and tells me he thank you for the time, but I'm not interested in having another date or whatever. And I was like, why were we sitting there for so long? Did you not realize that the bill was there? Because eventually he paid for it and I appreciated it, but I was just waiting because I was trying to take the advice of don't offer to pay.
You're like waiting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely one that would be interesting to hear, like some listeners' perspectives too. Like, but I don't know. Well, I have friends that are totally helpless and men step up and just do absolutely everything. So I don't know if we're doing it right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It would be really great if we could ask a guy.
Yes, it would.
Luckily, we are going to spice things up a little bit.
It's our lucky day.
It's our lucky day. It's your lucky day, listeners. We are going to get a male perspective on the dating game. And
yes.
So we're going to cut here for a second, come back with our guest and our drinks.
Yay.
Okay, so we're going to spice things up by inviting a guest. And because we're spicing it up, we are drinking a spicy strawberry margarita.
Yeah.
So welcome. This is Tim.
Cheers.
He's going to provide us with the male perspective on this dating game.
We want to know if he's paying for these drinks, I said.
That's a damn good drink.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a really good drink. Ah.
So we're going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, put me on the spot.
So we were discussing about the problem with picking up the tab. And what do you think, about it? Do you think that the women should pay? How do you feel when the bill comes out?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to you guys earlier on, and I was actually a little surprised that it's such a thing for you guys. Like, really? Like, really? I'm of a certain age, like we all are.
Yeah.
And I'm just one guy's perspective, but I don't think that's even a question on a first date at all. Like, it shouldn't even be... I don't even think it should be like even in the realm of possibility. And of all the dates I've been on, I think 2 times in my life, I let us split it. And it was because the date was so awful and she was like rude or there was something that actually like pissed me off about the date.
You didn't want to treat her after that. But
right. I was like, this is, I feel like my time was wasted. But if the date just didn't go well because it wasn't a connection, that's not reason enough at all.
Yeah.
So I think, especially like even on a first date, I don't even need the girl to even pretend to pay.
Oh.
Right. But you know what is interesting?
Revolution.
A thank you would be nice, which doesn't always come, which is
Really?
amazing. Yeah, I know.
have to say I always, I don't know if it's my people pleasing and feeling guilty, but I'm always like, even if I didn't care for the gentleman, like my recent coffee date where he wanted to squire me on another, I always make sure I send like a thank you text or before I'm leaving, like, thank you so much for the coffee. This was great.
Yeah.
I never want to see you again, but
I mean, I think, I always want to go for a drink. Like, it's just,
it's a
having a little
tactic.
alcohol in you is nice to kind of,
yeah,
kind of soften things up. But, I always have the thought that I don't think twice on a first date if she doesn't go for the bill. And even if she does, I'm like, no, right? Same thing with a second date. If by the third date you haven't made an effort, then I get a little...
Maybe you're high maintenance.
Well, then I think it's because, so I'm an actor, so I don't make $1 zillion, right? So I make enough money to pay my bills and but I'm not making $500,000 a year kind of thing. So I think at some point, if you're interested in someone, that conversation needs to be had, right?
Yeah.
Where you're figuring out, all right, so if by the third date she's not even attempting, then I'm kind of like, oh, this could be trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I couldn't keep doing this,
Right.
After a certain point. And even by the third date, if she's reaching, I'm probably not letting her. But I'm definitely clocking that she reached, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
so-
sense.
You're making a
See,
mental
for
note.
me, during a date, I'm gauging even what I order off of what the guy is ordering. So I'm not going to sit there and order a steak if you ordered a sandwich.
Well, and that's like respectful.
Yeah.
Although I never go like on a first date, it's just drinks.
Yeah, I was going
Right.
to say having a
Yeah.
full-on dinner for the first
I've made
date
that
can-
mistake.
Yeah.
And they walk in the room and you're like sitting down for a 2-hour dinner and they walk in and you're like, nope.
Nope.
And then you got to get through a meal.
Yeah,
Right. So
I was so relieved that one date was just a coffee date because
Yeah.
I was trying to make it last. Just out of, he bought me a cup of coffee and I had to give him at least a little bit of my time. But he had kind of catfished and not at all what I expected and zero chemistry on my end. And I think a dinner date, you
Is a
almost have
lot.
to already know each other.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
and
Like if it's
yeah.
somebody from work or something that, although never fish off the company pier, right? If somebody from work and you already kind of know them and know you could enjoy dinner together, I think that's a different story. But
I think in the world of online dating, a dinner date, if it's a second or third, it's kind of an admission that I kind of dig you. Like I'm willing to make this kind of commitment.
dinner.
Yeah, dinner. Right.
Maybe even an appetizer.
I know, right? Whereas I think drinks is kind of like, listen, I have no idea who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know
safer
if you're
bet.
going to like me. So let's just go have a drink. And then, so I think the dinner is kind of the next step, if you ask me. At least,
Yeah.
and again, I'm just one guy,
Yeah.
right? So,
You're
my
not the
perspective.
authority on all
I am
men?
definitely not the
Oh,
authority.
damn.
Well, you're
And-
one guy more than we've ever had on the show.
That's
so.
true.
There you
First
go.
male.
All right.
I totally cut you off though, Sarah. You were
Oh,
gonna
I
say
was
something
just
wise and amazing.
Not wise and amazing, but I was going to say I agree with you. I think it's easier to have a coffee or a cocktail drink, just to kind of assess, feel each other out essentially.
As a
Because
meet and greet.
yeah, I mean, let's not pretend we're not dating, online and seeing different people. So I kind of want to get a feel of, is there anything there at all? Because you meet all different types of people and you can immediately often tell, like, this is not going to go anywhere, whether it's physical chemistry or whether the conversation isn't flowing.
Well, and I'm just a completely insecure person or something, but I always feel kind of like awkward, like eating in front of somebody that I don't know very well. That's probably like some kind of high school issue.
Well, it's because you chew with your mouth wide open.
Yeah, that's why
so-
sushi's always out for a first date.
A really wide bite.
I know, and I'm really bad with chopsticks. So like if they wanted to
Yeah,
take
no,
me-
sushi, is a no for me on the first date.
But anyways, I guess like a drink, I feel like it's simple. You can just like how we're sipping now, just a sip and chat and
And I also tried the coffee thing because it's nice because if I go on like a roll and I'll go on like maybe 5 dates in a month, that's like $800.
I call that
Oh my
I call that
gosh.
serial dating.
So crazy.
Right. So the idea of coffee, it's like, well, that's actually, that's a cheaper way,
Yeah.
but I don't like that. I like to do something a little more formal, something in the evening. But what's interesting is, this happened like 2 months ago. So this is like the flip side of it. And was talking to a girl and she lived in West Hollywood and she was very cute and we were having seemingly good conversation. And I said, well, I'd love to take you out. And I like to go where they live. So
That's
Very considerate.
I
right.
like that.
And I'm always shocked whenever I hear like friends, like girlfriends tell me that, oh, and I drove out to him. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like
Yeah.
don't drive out to him.
Drove
Let him.
out to you.
No, we met halfway.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we met halfway.
So the backstory is that Tim and I met on a dating app.
We did.
Yeah.
And we met halfway and I think we met where it was just like we were just going to be friends. And if I remember, that's another podcast.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
I think it was like, I think I did that thing where I was like, I'm not interested in anything serious. You're like, well, I'm not interested in anything not serious.
I did not say
Well,
that.
not to that effect, but
Not at
something.
all.
But something where you were like, well, I'm not interested in just a hookup, I think it was. And I said, well, if you're interested in friends and you just want to meet, and you said, sure. And I think that's what it was.
Oh,
I think so.
I don't remember that. I do.
I like this. This is getting
Well,
juicy.
I don't know how much I
another
want to
sip of this
share
drink.
on this because it's like I do remember. I think pretty much right away. I think we both sort of assessed each other. And we're like, I like this person. I don't know that it's like I'm feeling like this is my forever person or whatever. But we've had such a great friendship. But I definitely felt comfortable enough to take him home.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Yeah, that was her decision, and
yeah,
I was like, okay. But real quick back to this story. So I said I'll come to you, and I said so I can pick a spot near you, or if there's a place you're comfortable with, we can do that. And she said,
I like that. I like that initiative.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean,
It's hard sometimes when they're like, "Well, where do you want to go?" And my people pleasing side of me freezes up and panics. So that I like that gesture a lot.
And she said, well, I'm right by the Four Seasons. Why don't we meet there?
Oh.
Right. And that was my reaction. And I sat there for an hour, like literally staring at the app, not knowing how to respond. And I think the old version of me...
Because it's automatically going to be a $25 cocktail.
Well, also, I just feel like I felt it was pretty tacky. Because I think there's an expectation, as it should be, that the guy pays. I think that should be the expectation. So, like you said, Sarah, like you're conscious about what you order, which I think is a really great thing. So when someone's like, yeah, I don't even know you, but take me to the Four Seasons, I'm so I think the old version of me would have played that game just to see if I can see her naked. But the new version of me, which, I feel like I've grown up a little bit and take care of myself a little more, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I can't play that game. That's not the world I live in, and that's a world I can live in on a special night. Yes. But on a first date where your expectations. So I just literally just deleted her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you ghosted.
I totally ghosted. And I was pretty proud of that, actually.
I get that.
Well, I think that kind of naturally leads us into expectations with dates, because that's, I think, one reason why I always offer to pay my portion of the date is because I'm wondering what expectations. I don't want you to automatically feel like I owe you something because you bought me a drink.
Right.
So I think that's part of the reason for me offering. If you don't,
that's why I always say thank you for the drink, because it doesn't mean I'm going to pay him in another way. Thank you so much for that drink. As I run.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not going to pay him in another way. I just don't want there to be that expectation.
Exactly. You want the freedom to make up your own decision, not feel any pressure that like, oh, he just dropped $200.
But do you think there is that?
We would like to ask you that.
I mean, not in my world.
So for me, I found it. There was this local bar. We went and grabbed a drink, and it wasn't going well. He paid for my drink, which I really appreciated. We had some basic conversation, but it wasn't there was nothing about my body language that said, hey,
make your move.
Make your move. Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing you added that language part to it, because I think there was something about your body.
The body language. But no,
I've seen you dress up for a date, girl.
Yeah.
But he takes me out, as we're leaving to say goodbye, and he wants to full on make out. Middle of the day in front of this bar.
Middle of the day makes it a little weird.
It was weird. I don't know. It was... I don't know. And maybe if he had been super hot, maybe if I'd been feeling it, maybe I wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're feeling it, it's a whole different story.
Yeah,
you don't care the time of day.
I know, but it was like the bars got these full, windows. Everybody's standing there. He's trying to really... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's trying to search for your tonsils.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly.
And here's, making out on a first date or whatever, sure, I'm all for that if the energy's there. Absolutely. And then some. But I don't think that has anything to do or tied with the fact that he paid for the drink.
Right.
Then we're getting transactional, right? Ooh. And then that's when it's weird. I'm not assuming you're going to put you in prostitute status because I paid for something you then have to that's weird, right?
Right.
But it doesn't mean I don't want to do that. I might want to do that, but I'm not. There's no part of me that's like, well, she should do this because I bought. Right. No, that's totally separate. That's just the way of the world. That's how gentlemen, I think, should, even if I do want to do ungentlemanly things to you, I don't think they're connected at all. Now, maybe there are some people out there that feel that, but that's douchey. That's weird.
Right. Well, this is my cocktail. You led us perfectly into this prostitution. I've termed this inadvertent prostitution. So I had a guy that I went out with on several dates. Several. Okay. The first one was pretty funny. We met for coffee. He paid, which I appreciated, and then he walked me back to my car, which I also appreciated. But then when he said goodbye, he clinked his coffee cup to mine and said, "Cheers, buddy." and then walked away. And I was like,
But you don't cheers coffee.
yeah, well, that, and also like,
That'll dry you up really quick.
well, it also let me, I was like, oh, he really, I'm in the friend zone from the beginning. But
Well,
he
he
ended
might
up,
have been a different kind of buddy.
well, here's the thing. So he ended up texting as I get the text as I'm driving away, like, oh God, that clearly didn't go well. And he's like, I'm so sorry that I said that. That was so lame. I didn't know what to say. I was nervous. I'd love to take you out again.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, good.
Good.
You know,
All right.
good. So guys get nervous too. Fine. So then we went out a second time and he paid for drinks and that was great. And I think we, had gone back to his place for a little bit, but then I got a call from home, Mayday. And so it was like, put a pause in this. And so we went out again for the third time. So by then, he bought me dinner and drinks and coffee, and we're probably like, I'd say $100 in.
This is going to end really well. I can tell him.
For
It's
him,
great.
it ended great for him. Anyway, we picked up where we left off, ended up sleeping together, and I never hear from him again. So I'm like calculating this in my mind, like, I'm a pretty cheap prostitute. All he had to do was pay for like $100, and then he got what he wanted, and then that was it.
Well, but that, and this is where I'll challenge you on that. That then assumes that, like, why wasn't that you doing what you wanted to do?
Oh, it
as
was me
opposed
doing
to,
what.
okay, right.
Oh yeah, and I'm not doing
yeah,
anything
absolutely.
I don't want to do,
and that's why
But-
I am challenging you, because that doesn't sound like you, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel. But it was just funny because you think about like things are. There was nothing wrong, just that. Then I never heard from him again.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, clearly in my mind, that's all he wanted. Whereas I was thinking, we're 3 dates in, and he's paying for things, and continually asking me out. This is going well. It to suddenly be like, oh, the sex was what he was after.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know those people, and I know they're out there. But if he literally was manipulating you just to get sex, and was doing that, and then once he had sex, his intention was to absolutely walk away, like, and if that was his plan from the get-go, like, I don't know those people.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible human being.
Well, and I don't think that I'm not saying that he was manipulating me. Again, I wasn't being like.
Yeah,
You know,
usually
like, I wasn't being fooled.
you were a somewhat
what I
willing
mean?
party.
Yeah, exactly. Like I do what I want, but I did think like it just made for a funny like. Oh, I guess that's one way to look at it. Is that like you pay for things. Let this guy pay for things, and then it transactionally ended the same way as a prostitute.
Now, when you said, well, right. Now, when you said,
Hence
you
the
never-
inadvertent.
right,
yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
totally. But when you said that, also, it does happen on the flip side as well,
Yeah.
in that, especially like the dinner thing, and I have done that a few times, where you're halfway through the dinner and through the conversation, you realize that this person literally is just hungry. And and I swear to God, that has happened, where I'm realizing,
A girl's got to eat,
I
Tim.
know. And I realized that
Can we get some guacamole to go?
that I think this girl literally goes on. This was years ago, before I kind of knew what was going on, with the dating world. But I felt like I got the impression that this girl goes on dates to eat, and she was like an artist. She was trying to be an
A
actor.
starving artist.
Right, literally.
starving.
Yeah. So
Legit.
so I absolutely felt used at the end of that date. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell was that?
I wonder how many guys think that about us.
Oh, just taking her to Vaughn's and
Right. We could have just taken you to the grocery store, pick up some stuff, and let me go home. Get on my PlayStation. At least I'll
Enjoy the night.
But that reminds me of, remember the one date I went, well, no, it was a couple dates where every time we'd go, he would just get water. So I'm sitting there like
Oh, gosh.
munching on chips or like having a glass of wine, and he would just get water every single time.
Why?
I
Because
assumed he
just
didn't.
broke.
he was a cheap ass.
I assumed because he didn't want to pay for me. Now, one time he did. I mean, he didn't order anything for himself, but it was
well,
awkward.
yeah, when the check comes, it's
But
not,
why is he
it's
on a
not
dating
his.
site then? I
I
don't
don't know.
understand.
This is what we're dealing with, Tim. This is not
Well, and-
unusual.
And so we were trying to benefit of the doubt when we talked about that one too. Sarah was
I
like,
need
well,
more
maybe
drinks.
he's, Sarah was like, maybe he's going out several nights a week, and he can't afford it. He can't afford to be on a dating app. But it's just so
the time that I
weird.
ordered food, though, he had been late by like 20, 30 minutes. So I'm sitting there, and so I'm like, okay,
Starving.
I'm going to get some food. And you would think that after being late, I didn't really expect him to cover me, but you would think, hey, I was late. Let me get this, whatever it was
Sure.
for you. It was $10. Come on. But
Well, and that's the other thing I heard you guys talking about, that the bill sits there. If the bill, I mean, that could be a good thing. If you got and I think one of you girls said that, is that you could be having such a good time that who cares? The bill's there, so what?
Yeah, I don't
like
wanna go.
the date's not over. But if and when, the waiter comes up and reminds you or whatever, if he's then not going, and then grabbing it. But I guess you guys are saying that sometimes that's their way of saying, I hope she realizes that she's going to get half.
Yes,
right. But
that
that's not always the case, is my point. That it could be just that you guys are having a good time. But yeah, I mean, I've listened to your podcast, so I hear the stuff you guys go through, and it's funny because we go through the same thing, just on a different
reverse,
side. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we want to hear some of that. Like, what are your
give us
what are
some
your
good
perspectives on the dating apps, or on what you guys have to deal with? Because I think we could use all the help we could get.
I truly. So I just got out of not just, it's about a year now. I've been out of a relationship, and it was a
Which
girl.
can feel like just.
I know, it really does. It
Yeah.
feels like just, and it still hurts. And
Yeah.
we dated for like a year and a half, and madly in love, and we met the right way. We met at a dog park, and it kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It gave me hope in love again. Mm-hmm. I kind of had given up on it, and that kind of informed my dating habits, and I wasn't really interested in committing to anybody, and was just wanting to have a good time, and I was very transparent about it, because I don't want someone to be there under false pretenses. That's no fun.
Well, and I think that's honorable.
Yeah, well, I think I don't understand how people enjoy any kind of time where the other person doesn't have all the information, right? Like that
Right.
doesn't seem, because then, like, I want them to be there, whatever it is they're doing, whether clothes are on or off. I want them to be there because that's what they want to do, because they have the information, because that makes you feel good. That makes, right?
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. So, but anyway, so now that I'm back on them after my experience, I truly believe that the dating apps really aren't designed to really have relationships really work and happen. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's always this.
And it happened, but I think when you're getting to know someone normally, let's say at work, right? And let's say, some new guy starts at your job, and you kind of check him out from the beginning. You're like, oh, this guy seems pretty cool. Oh, and he's funny. Oh, so you'll spend the next couple months secretly falling in love with him, maybe, right? Where you're not, and there will be ups and downs with that. Like maybe one day he's a little cranky or rude, and you're like, oh, never mind, I thought I liked him, and then 2 days later he's different, and with that process, it's like one step forward or 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right?
Yeah.
And until you're hooked, and then once you're hooked, right, that's when the love happens, and that's when the commitment starts. Well, on a dating app, the 2 steps forward, once you have a 1 step back, you're done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You're done, right? So it's really, really, I find it really hard to for something real and genuine and proper to happen with dating apps. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but
I get that, though. Like, we talked on a previous episode about, organic meeting versus, and it is really nice to meet out in the wild organically, but you know,
IRL.
yeah. And but then we've had some of the same issues with some of our organic meetups, but I think you're right. There's so many options on the dating app, and I have no idea what it looks like from a male perspective, but I mean,
Lots of boobs. Just nothing but boobs.
because the male ones are just like, we've joked about it. I mean, there's the triple chin look, there's the guy who's got his shirt off, and then you kind of automatically know what he's on the out for. But it's like very little effort put into some of these men's profiles. They're so obnoxious. So I'm kind of curious. Like,
so there's a couple things. I know you guys on one of the episodes was talking. Hold on, I had a burp. Sorry.
Okay,
That's
the drink.
Yeah, it's the drink. The drink's delicious. You guys were talking about different things that are total like turnoffs.
Yeah.
For a dating app, and you were saying like shirtless pics or whatever. So there's a couple of things that. So one is the crazy blurry filter for women, and I think it's supposed to make your skin look better or something.
No wrinkles.
Whatever it is,
Glowing.
it's the Carrie Lake thing. It's that
Carrie Lake.
Carrie Lake is the lovely wannabe governor from Arizona who, whenever she's on TV, she puts this filter on, and it looks bizarre. To the point where SNL has done skits on it. Like, it's just this weird filter.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah, check it out. You'll see it. And it's just this weird, like, blurry, otherworldly filter.
Yeah.
And
Maybe she's an alien.
yeah, that's you know what? That's about as true. That could very well be true. So when people do that, it just feels very juvenile to me.
Yeah.
So that always is a red flag.
Yeah.
But also there's the this shot, and then this shot, and then like literally they're taking shots from like the International Space Station. Because of the angle.
Raise the camera and you'll.
I know,
Like, I
but
definitely look better from that angle.
But when all 6 pictures of them is
Yeah.
like literally this going right down on their cleavage, it's like, okay, you want to do one picture like that?
I was going to say
Great.
that needs to be 1 out of the 5.
Of
right?
sure, that's fine.
Like Sarah said, me with the dog, me with the.
Right.
Me with my boobs.
But when all 6, and it was funny, I
With the
matched.
ladies.
I actually matched with a girl a couple weeks ago, and I host a poker game with my buddies every week, and a handful of us are on the dating apps, and like you do, we'll sit there and oh my god, and we'll pass around and
Male
there is
version of what
Yeah,
right,
exactly, yeah.
And there is this one girl who was, the first picture was all boobs all the time, right? And the second picture was all boobs all the time, but it was about an inch more zoomed in. Literally to the point where there was 5
Closing
pictures
in.
and they were closing in to the point where the last picture cut off her face. And it was just her boobs. And
Looking for a long-term relationship.
right, exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then if you then take her up on what she's presenting.
Well, so that's the thing that I'll kind of let you in a little bit on some of the things that guys think, at least me, and I think this guy, is that there's 2 parts of me with the dating app. There's the part that's below the belt, and there's a part that's above the belt. This is true. And ideally, you want to find someone that both of those portions of your self respond to that person, right? I think that's probably the recipe for a great relationship. But if someone's putting out pictures there where only the bottom part of me is responding, I am that's what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's whether it's good, bad, whatever, that's just human nature, I think, on a certain level, that she has literally drawn this side of me. So I'm going to, and again, I'm just going to assume that's what it is, and I'm just going to go,
Well,
hey.
I think that's the message she's putting out there. As a
Absolutely.
woman, I would think that's the message you're putting out there.
Right.
Is you're looking for something casual, you're good,
But inevitably-
you're horny. I don't know. Like, I mean,
But
I think-
inevitably, what happens is then you go down that road, and then she's
They're
like,
offended.
they're offended, right?
Well, because I think the difference between men and women is there are a lot of women who present that, and it's not because they are looking for the physicality. Yes, they want that, but they want that as a validation. For
Right,
who
it's
they are, as an
insecurities.
exactly,
Of course.
100%.
But men, I'm sure men have the same thing. Like men with I imagine most men that their profile picture is without a shirt on and it looks really good. I imagine they're probably not the smartest people in the world, right? Like I would guess that that's their way of
Sarah
Saying,
wants
this
to
is what I have
fall
to
in love
offer.
with
right. This is what I
Maya.
have to offer.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think it's. I think you have to, as men and women, you have to. If you don't know after a while what that's the great thing about dating, is that you see what you're getting back, right? So that means you end up realizing what you're presenting out there in the
Right.
world, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of
now
all
I'm
on
worried.
us. Well, I think it's on us,
That's
right?
depressing.
Right.
Something about Sarah at that date was like, I'm a make out in the parking lot and
Kinda
daylight
girl.
Well, I think it's patterns. I mean, if they're one-offs here and there, but I think if you keep ending up with the same type of guy,
Yeah.
then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, am I doing something? Is there something about what I'm doing? It doesn't even necessarily mean your pictures. It could be that, I don't know
the
what
vibe
it is.
you're putting out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, let's get really deep. I actually had a conversation with a therapist about that. I keep kind of ending up in these situationships and these casual situations, and I'm like, what is it about me that, what am I doing wrong that's making people like that interested in me versus the other kinds of people,
Well, I talked to your therapist, so I can tell you.
But I do think you have to evaluate, like, what the fruits of your putting yourself out there brings, but I
Right.
think also we're in a day and age where that's kind of what's going on too in the dating game, is there's very little commitment and everyone's just kind of looking for a good time, or we've all been, in serious relationships before and now we don't want one, there's
Right.
different
Well,
reasons.
which one was it? Sarah Elizabeth that said you were in that relationship for like 10 months or whatever, and then you found out that he was like, oh, do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah,
That was you, Elizabeth?
It was kind of like, we were joking about the fact that I saw that meme, and it felt very much like, I think the problem is too, that we had discussed a little bit in that episode, is that you can be in a situation where they will tell you, like you were saying, I think there's a certain, being honest about what you're looking for. And so if I've had a couple of gentlemen more than one, that ended up in a situationship with, that had told me that, it was casual and they weren't looking for anything serious, but then their actions said serious.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's really easy to be kind of like fooled by, although they said, hey, you think maybe something, they changed their mind or something. And, that they really are.
Well, when
kind of
all their interactions are screaming relationship.
Yeah. And
Well,
then,
and I think common knowledge, like wisdom, would say trust the action over the word. You know
But
what I mean?
now
And
I don't-
usually,
yeah.
but exactly. But that in that I would
but
think
no,
that
trust what they're saying, because
Yeah.
what they're saying it for a reason. And, I've learned that for sure recently. But I think it is interesting, though, because there's this maybe fairy tale side of you that starts to think, oh, wait,
I'm gonna be the one who
I'm the one
changes
who
him.
changed him, and now he is
I
looking
can't live
for
without you,
something more.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
just-
yeah, and I think I learned my lesson years ago, because I used to, and again, I've been back on for a couple months, and I've been on maybe 2 dates, and I'm not yet in the serious mode yet. Like I haven't even kissed a girl yet, since because I'm just not
Yeah.
You're not
feeling
there.
it yet.
Yeah.
I'm kind of revving the engine back up. But but before my relationship, when I was in whatever groove I was in,
ho mode,
what was it?
ho mode,
Ho mode?
ho mode.
Oh, ho
she's
mode.
calling you a
Right.
hoe.
I thought she was saying homo. I was like, no, I haven't gone down that road yet. But there's time. Yeah.
You never know.
No, homo. So for me, it was, my thought was that as long as I'm transparent, and if they show up to the ho party, if you want to use that, then all
I
is
showed
fine.
up to the ho party.
Yeah.
You invited me to the ho party. Let's be very clear about that.
But yeah, I think that's true. Like I said in that same episode, is I when they do tell you where they're
Right.
at, then you make the decision whether you want to join them there.
Right.
And so, in reality, I made the decision that I wanted to join there. And then as things seemed like maybe they were taking a different turn, like I think I was foolish enough to think that even though he said he didn't want a relationship, the more time we've been together, maybe he does kind of.
Well, I think that's the difference, and that was going to be my point. Is that I've seen it enough because it's so much easier for guys to compartmentalize, right?
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, isn't there like actual science that like when sex happens, like a woman absolutely like chemically gets closer, like
Yeah,
more
it's
so than a man?
Yeah, because it's the oxytocin, which is the same
Okay.
thing that happens when you're nursing. It's like a hormone
Gotcha.
that releases to bond people together.
So I think I've seen it enough where you're like casual, and then you see something turn and in the girl, right? Because I think it's human nature. Whereas the guy's still able to kind of like do that, like, kind of keep you at arm's length.
Yeah.
But he likes to, I've been guilty of this, and I think I've learned enough because you don't want to hurt people, right?
Yeah.
Like you
not,
don't.
Not if you're a decent person.
Right. You don't want to hurt
Right.
people. So I kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to ever go down that road again because it sucks when people get hurt, right? So I think what happens is a guy will buy you flowers or whatever because he likes to ride that line, and those are nice feelings and nice moments. But he still has made it known that, again, you're the placeholder.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what I said. Oh.
Right. And that's true. And again,
I don't want to be a placeholder.
but here's the deal. It happens I've been a placeholder.
Yeah. I
And
know.
it sucks. It
Well,
totally
and then
sucks.
in return, like I remember him saying to me, because that ultimately, if I was willing to go with this, I'm not looking for anything, and I was okay with being that for now. When he knew what I ultimately want is someday companionship, someone to go on the cruises with as a senior citizen or whatever, he was like, actually, you're making me a placeholder because you're content with this until you find what you really want. And then I was like, oh God, way to twist it on me. But you know, like, I don't know. It's just it's rough out there, folks. I don't know.
Well, and it's not all bad. I mean, I think
It
we've
can
all.
be fun. Sometimes you want the casual.
I don't know. We've all had good situations
Yeah.
too, good dates. I mean,
Sure.
I had one guy call me up and he wanted to go on a date, and he did it great. He offered me 3 different options: adventure, comedy, or something else. And basically, I got to.
It's like you're on a game show.
Yeah, I know. I was
yeah.
like, okay, what
Which
do you want?
curtain?
Yeah. So we chose comedy, and he took me to a comedy show, and we had a great dinner. He paid. Wasn't really able to hold up a conversation, so that didn't really go anywhere. But I appreciated the gesture.
Sure.
You know.
Well,
it
and
was-
I think the fact that he put so much thought into like the date,
right.
Like you
Well,
know,
3 dates because he
Yeah.
had them all lined out
yeah,
for me.
So
Like,
he,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he
Yeah.
plans unless he kind of always has that repertoire. and
maybe
it's-
that's it.
But that
could be.
But there's nothing wrong with
Me-
that
me all
because
jaded.
it's a good method. You
Sure.
know?
It is.
Yeah.
No, I was impressed,
Well,
honestly.
it's like the date I went on where the person had known from our previous conversations that I like margaritas. Like, I guess everybody knows that now. But he made sure he picked a place that had margaritas. He had them already ordered by the time I got there. Like, those kind
That's
of
really kind. Yeah.
thoughtful things like are really great. Of course, he also was looking for something casual, but at least he was thoughtful.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then you have the situations that seem like they are going to be serious, where they're like, hey, you know, I'm looking for something real and serious, you know, and they buy you the limo. Or, no, don't buy you a limo.
Wait,
They,
Yes.
Who's
pick you
getting you a
up.
limo? Pick you up in a
mean,
limo?
I mean, this, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
she got
like,
picked
See,
up in a
that's
limo.
where I would get nervous.
It
Because
was
if
like-
someone's doing that,
but it
then.
was someone I knew.
Oh,
so
someone you
it
knew.
wasn't-
Okay.
Someone did that, not people are doing this.
Yeah,
This,
Okay.
this is a
and
very
it
unique-
wasn't like a dating app.
Okay,
It
all right,
wasn't
then
like an IRL meet, but and somebody that I actually knew. But yeah, definitely like the party bus, the drinks, the driver, and I was thinking, wow, he's into me, but no, he wasn't. But you know what I
But
mean?
it was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. You got to take it for what it's worth sometimes,
Yeah.
and we definitely had fun together until we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, and then there was my Mastro's date. That
Oh,
was fun.
right.
That was
Your
a good,
what date?
Mastro's.
What's
Speaking of a
Mastro's?
woman needs to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fancy
It's a
steakhouse.
fancy. Yeah, so I met this
or
guy
something.
organically. Actually, we were out at happy hour. He's an older gentleman, very professorly. But anyway,
Hugh Hefner.
Yes.
Professor. She's all professor. I'm like,
Hey, her fantasy is professor. Don't steal it.
don't take away my
Listen,
fantasy.
throw him in a V-neck. He can be a professor. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, anyway, so he's like, I will take you to any restaurant you want to go to. And I wasn't about to say like something expensive, but he's like, again, gave me the choice of where I want to go. I'm like, you choose, whatever. So he chose Mastro's, and like $1,200 later,
So crazy.
For a
was crazy.
first date.
first date.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess if you got that kind of money, God
Yeah.
love you. But that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot of pressure on you. That's
Yes.
where I feel like that's
speaking
where.
of inadvertent prostitution.
Well, no, that's where I felt like he was going, because he
Right.
was like basically saying, I don't expect anything out of you except what you want to give, but I think he was looking for like an escort type situation, because he's
think
like,
it
I
was
can
the
send
age
you.
partly like he really probably just wanted to be out with a beautiful woman.
And we did have the nerdiest conversation.
and you felt safe with him, and he was.
he was
yeah.
really nice, really respectful. We talked a lot about just random nerdy things, so we had a good time. You know, he offered to send me to the Four Seasons for a massage and stuff, and I was
Wow.
like, no.
Wow. See, that's a little much.
See,
yeah, isn't
that's
it?
a lot,
Yeah.
because then that's where I start to feel like, no, you're expecting something.
Sure. Yeah.
Payback, inadvertent prostitution.
Yeah.
You know,
And it might not even be sex. It might just be companionship, but it
Right.
still could be. It still could be awkward, right? Because
Right.
it's not normal or organic.
right?
Yeah.
Because and I don't mind talking to him and hanging out,
Yeah.
but it would be a friendship. It
Right.
wouldn't be anything more
I want
than
someone
that.
to send me to the Four Seasons.
I know, right? I know. I really should have taken him up
You
on
need
that.
a
I don't
sugar
know.
mama.
Does he need a dude to hang out with? I'll talk nerdy stuff with him.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, I can do that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I think that's one of the things too, is just like, I wonder, because, you know, in each of our situations, we've sort of made ourselves very strong and independent. And, you know, I thought that this was going to be an attraction for men, that they would know, hey, I don't need you to take care of me. I don't need you to provide for me. And like, you're not gonna have to work, you know, like a dog just so that I can, you know, get my lattes.
She's not
or
taking
something.
advantage of
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I sort of was going in with that stance, and not because I'm not like, I love the idea of a man paying. I love the idea of a man protecting. I love all those things. I'm not like, hey,
But you don't need it.
Yeah, but I know that I can stand on my own. So those things are what I give. I'm giving because I want to and I choose to, and that's what I want to have back. But it seems to me like I'm seeing other people who need a man are the ones who get
Yes.
the man.
Yeah, but what are they
we talked
getting,
about
though?
this recently.
I don't know.
Well, sure you do.
Well, no, I mean, we kind of talked about this recently just in one of our little get-togethers, which is frequent, is that, sorry, we have a couple of women that we work with or whatever that do put off a needier, more high-maintenance vibe, and their needs and their high-maintenance-ness is being met by somebody.
Okay.
And then here we are thinking we're kind of badass because we take care of ourselves to some degree and want somebody but don't need somebody. And then here we are.
But, or even, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, but even like, oh, I'm so scared there's a storm coming.
Oh my God.
I'm going to try to be really brave. But, I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously?
You mean victim?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So my thought on that is that I would think, so with all relationships, it's 2 to tango, right?
Yeah.
So the needy person finds the guy that feels good about being needed, right?
Okay.
So I think what you guys being able to, so you guys are very strong, independent women that make your own money. So I think what that does is that just makes your options more, meaning you don't need to only find a guy that's going to be able to keep you off the street, right? So that means you can open up your options to maybe a high school teacher or maybe an artist or maybe whereas maybe those girls can't do that, the ones that are needy. So I would think what that does for you guys is open up your options because you don't need money. So that doesn't, now obviously you don't want to date someone that's poor, but you don't need to date someone that makes $350,000 a year.
Right.
If someone makes 100, I imagine you're like, yeah, that's no problem. So I think for you, it just gives you more options because your needs are less.
I don't know the way
That's
the
a positive
economy's
way to
going,
look
though. I might be needing more. I might be more needy if it keeps going like
cocaine's a bitch, and it costs a lot of money, Elizabeth. So.
It's cheaper than Ozempic. So.
Can you lose like 15 pounds by doing that? Because I think I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't like a day and a half you take it? And
No.
then
I'm
right.
taking it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
Damn, how'd you get it? Don't you have to have diabetes?
Yeah, I have to go in the black market.
All right. There we go. Wow, this took a turn.
We'll talk about that on another time.
And one thing. So I texted. It's funny. I texted Caitlin the other day, and it was probably like a really cryptic message. I said, "Oh, remind me to." Yeah.
I put it in our.
So
outline.
what's really interesting about, and I'm wondering if you guys experience this. So I've become so cynical on the dating apps, right? That like
cynical is a nice way to put
right,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
So what now happens is you'll see, let's say you see someone, I'll see someone that's really, really pretty, right? And like you guys have said, like I don't walk in a room and turn heads at all, but I also don't think I'm an unattractive guy, right? So I'm just like a normal dude. So if I see someone that's really attractive, like why the hell not? Sure, I'll swipe, right? And then if they swipe me back and they say hi, I'm like, here we go. What's this bullshit about? Right? Like I don't even give it a chance. Like I've already decided that it's bullshit. And so they'll be like, hey, I'm like, yep, the one word thing. And it could just, and then, I'll write back and then
You say, hey,
right,
too.
right. But what's interesting is I feel like it's, I would say 99% of the time, you're probably right and your instincts are probably on. But what about that 1% chance that maybe she's new to the apps and maybe she's just nervous or maybe she is shy and maybe she does think I'm a handsome guy.
Or she just thinks you look like a normal person that's like somebody that she could have intelligent conversations
Or
with.
she's just matching the energy that she's getting with all these guys saying, hey.
Right. But meanwhile, she's writing me and she's opening it up, and I'm like, all right, so what's your problem? Like, what's you're fake, right? And I'm already throwing out this negative energy, and I think 9 times out of 10, it protects me from whatever bullshit is about to happen.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to curse on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then there's that 1/10th time that but I don't know how to solve that because it's literally a time suck. So you have to kind of protect yourself in certain ways. But
one of the things that when you were with your previous girlfriend that you said to me was that because you had met organically, that you said that you had both discussed that if you had met on a dating app, you might have swiped left on each other.
Well, I definitely would have swiped right.
On her, yeah.
Right. But what would have happened, I think it's more this, because I don't know whether or not she would have swiped me, but we would have went out on a first date, and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's what
just
you were saying,
because we... Oh, just a little FYI, love does not conquer all, guys. Really good talk here. Really good talk.
That could be a future episode.
Right.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It's really sad,
No,
but it doesn't.
You can love somebody with everything you have and it not work out.
So I think that's what it was we fell in love, and then the love is what brought us together. We were such different people, and it was a really beautiful thing that the love is what brought us together, and being different and just chasing the love was really kind of our jam. It was kind of what brought us together, but our differences and our separate issues that we had, the love wasn't enough to keep us. But I think we would have went on that date and we would not have had a lot to say.
Right.
And I think I would have left that date going, she's beautiful, but I mean, I'm not really getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. But you do that for 3 months with no pressure, and then suddenly you're like, your heart flutters every time you show up at the dog. Like, that's normal in real life stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But
we need more of that. We need more dog parks.
We do. I know, you gave up your dog. See, that's your problem.
So
he did shit all over your house, though, several times.
Exactly. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So I'm actually curious, outside of the dog park situation, what's been your experience with
real life
dating? Yeah.
I mean, so COVID, right?
Yeah.
I've realized recently that I am so goddamn isolated, like in the world, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I have Monday night with my poker guys, and it's actually a pretty special thing. We meet every Monday. We've been doing it for 8 years, and it's like just a bunch of dudes that get together, and it's never about the money. We just talk about politics and about our careers. Most of us are actors or musicians or something, but that's my only community. Like, I have no other place to go to meet anybody, let alone women, just to meet good people and to actually like insert myself into society. So I've kind of come to that realization, and I've sat back and I was like, I should shower more. Like I should, because pre-COVID, like that was like a daily thing. And now I'm kind of like,
pre-COVID.
It's Wednesday, and I think it was Sunday. And because I haven't left my house.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question, Sarah, is nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I was just talking to my brother yesterday.
Talked a lot about that.
Well, and my brother was like, you should really find a church. And I'm like, how do I?
Can we advise against that?
Well, that's the thing is like, how do I go there?
The lady
already
said that to us at the coffee place the other day. We were like sitting there at coffee together, and she's like, well, our church.
Yeah, just to
we have a lot of
single
single men.
Yeah, we were. This is actually really hilarious because we were doing a podcast planning meeting, and this guy, we were chatting, and a guy on another table, like, it's like, wow, I sat at the right table. The tea is being spilled, or whatever.
It was good. I was talking about my most recent outing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then his mom, sat down or whatever, and asked what our podcast was. We started talking about it being single in the suburb, and she's like, well, you should really go to our church, which was really close to this coffee shop that we were sitting at. And we're all thinking, like, I ended up saying, well, like, what happens is that it often is you are no longer really welcome when you get a divorce. And she's like, oh, not this church. And I'm like, exactly that church. It was exactly that church.
Specific
so
church.
we were laughing.
Well, and also
okay.
I've tried all sorts of like, because I dabble in some writing and so I'll try like meetup groups.
Meetups.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what have I been to? Maybe 8 or 9 meetups over the last 10 years, and every single one I walk in and I go, "What the fuck has happened to my life that I am here?"
Okay.
and
this is me, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, where did I go wrong?
Right. And it's interesting. So I have a quick little side thing. So when I first moved to LA, like 12 years ago, I was on tour with a show, and it was the first time I was like unemployed in like 10 years, and I was now in a new city. So life was kind of strange. And I was living in Burbank, and I was right across the street from the Gordon Biersch. Do you know that in Burbank? All right, so it's just this nice, cool, like neighborhood bar. And I'm new in town, and I'm out of a job, and I have some money in the bank. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna be my hangout. And I remember after like 3 months, I remember sitting at the bar, and I look across the bar, and there's that guy, Steve. And I'm like, that mother effer is here every single night. What
And
a
then you
loser.
realize,
And then I was like, wait a minute.
I'm here every night.
And I was like, oh, wow. I moved 2 weeks later. I did. I literally was like, I need to not be in walking distance to a bar. It's too easy. It's too.
we've joked
know,
about that before. At
because
our
you're
happy
lonely,
hours. We're
right.
like, we're always at this happy hour. That guy's always here. And then we're like, oh, he could say the same
Yeah.
thing.
So I don't know where to meet awesome, amazing people that can't seem to just like we all are, right, guys? Right? I don't know. That's the thing. Being an actor is really hard in that way because you don't. I'm freelance, right? So I'll go work a job for a week, and then I'm done with that job. So I'm not building any community there. And then I'll go and work this job for 3 days. So. And the only time it's ever happened, I was a series reg once, and I was on a job for 4 months, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even about like there was no women there I was going to date, but I felt
you're
part of a.
day in
I
and
felt
day
like I
out.
was living, and I was being part of society,
Right.
and I was being reminded that hey, I'm a good person and I have value, and I'm actually offering something to
up
this
to the
group,
world.
right?
Yeah.
So. And of course, that builds confidence, which then puts you out there in the world. So I don't know the answer to that, Sarah. I mean, if you guys have any, but and you guys have tried like the whole thing about, and I'm sure it's the same thing where you put it out there where you're going to have like the singles meetup.
Yeah.
Right, but all it takes is one freaking weirdo to show up, and you're like,
to
let's
ruin the
not,
whole thing.
let's not do this
Why
anymore.
am I doing this?
Right, yeah. But in the couple times that I've shown up, it's been a lot of fun. I don't think there's been any like happenings in relationships, right? But it's been fun.
but-
But I
Yeah.
think we were pretty controlled on who showed up at
Right,
first. 'Cause,
okay.
And I feel like there's opportunity to just sort of open it up to everyone, but that's the risk that you run.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, how do I want to get stuck with the
But
really odd guy?
we've
that-
all said it, like the adult company is enjoyable, whether relationships
Regardless.
come out of
100%,
these things
yeah.
or not. Just like even just sitting here today doing the podcast, like just getting to chit chat is like really fun,
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at this, and I think you touched on this. It says, do men find women who need something?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Oh.
So if
Well, so-
if we were like, Tim, I need you to come fix my toilet.
See, the way you gave me a look and the way you said that, I'd be like, I'll be right over. And
your toilet's not getting fixed.
right. Yes, something else is going to get fixed. Yes. So it's interesting because when you say that in the realm of dating apps, the answer for me is a definite no, because that's assuming that very early on you're going to feel that need, and that's a huge turnoff. But I would think in the normal realm of a relationship, I think there are that. I think
To be
absolutely when you realize, oh, this there's something about me that has massive value to this
Right.
person
Yeah.
because I offer something. And also being adored is
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And
both
that
parties.
takes time. But that's the one thing, like in my last relationship, I felt when things were good, I felt incredibly adored, and I hadn't felt that in a long time. And that's like kind of worth like gold, if you ask me. Like
absolutely.
that just makes you want to be a better person. It makes you, it makes you want to, it just brings out the best in you, I think. But that doesn't come easy. That's
Or
really
often.
or often.
Yeah.
I mean, I fall in love every 10 years. Seriously. Before my last one was in 2010, the last time I actually fell in love with a girl. Because once I'm in, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
And it's usually like 10 years apart. I don't know what the hell that's about. So.
We need
So,
a scientist.
Lucky girls in like what, 9 years? 8
Yeah,
years?
yeah, exactly.
It's going to start
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah. I'll be in a walker by then, but yeah.
Well, the nursing home is an excellent place to.
Well, that's my hope.
meet people.
That's
Yeah.
my hope. I think that's when I'll finally find
Well,
my
you're-
forever person.
Well, your boys did say they were going to put you in the retirement home next to the fire station. So,
I was
you
able to
know.
think it was giving me that. But yeah, my forever person will work out because it'll only be like 10 months.
Well, let me ask you. So let me ask like a deep question. So
I'm ready.
when you really like sit there, and you think about like what it is you truly want. Like when you think about like being with a guy, and then you exhale as a result, like that you're with someone that this person gets me, this person loves me, this person adores me, or whatever. What anxiety does it remove for you? you know? Like for me, and just to give you, like when I was with my person and when things were good, I realized that is all I needed. And any other outside expectations or what I felt I needed to do in the world, like it kind of all faded away. As long as I had this person, I felt like, well, I won't fail. So that took away all the anxiety of feeling like, well, I need to go do this, or I need to accomplish this, or you talked about living in LA and not having a house, right? Which I thought was an awesome thing that you said, that it's just kind of the norm. Because that's one of the things I struggle with. Like, you know, choosing to be an actor 25 years ago, you kind of give up on a lot of things, right? And one of them is I live in an apartment. But when I was in that relationship, suddenly I didn't worry about that so much, you know? So I wonder, like, is it about, like, you don't want to die alone? Is it that you want your kids to have, you know, to see their mom have a man by their side? Like, what is it that you guys
Yeah, that's
like,
a good question.
strive for, you know?
I might need to go on and meditate on that one.
All right, all right.
really
Put it
know.
on another podcast. I'll listen. Yeah. So
For me, it was like the sense of home. You know, I think when you have somebody that you truly love that loves you back,
It feels like home.
it feels like home. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like I
you-
need to start singing now.
but it is, you know, you feel like you are going to face life and everything that life throws at you with someone by your side, not alone. And as it is now, you know, I am facing life alone outside of, you know, the support of my friends, my family.
Which we're very blessed and lucky to have. I try not to
Exactly.
take it for granted.
But it is, you know, I mean, something comes up and you're the one trying to solve it. You're juggling a million different things. Something breaks on top of it. Your kid's having a hard time in life of their own.
Yeah.
You're trying to show up for them while also showing up for everything else. It's a lot to deal with, to just have somebody at
It's
the end of the day
exhausting.
to be able to give you a hug and know that you have someone that loves you and is there for you and will stand by you is huge.
So would
for
you
me-
say you're more lonely / bored, or more scared and anxious being alone? Like when you're looking for a man, is it fear, or is it just like, I'm just bored at it, like I want someone to go through, you know, like
Yeah, I think
companionship? For me, it's companionship. Is
Okay.
I want somebody to do stuff with. So it's not. I'm not afraid.
right.
I'm not even anxious necessarily.
That's awesome.
we don't have time to be bored.
Well, no,
I do
no, I
think
am bored. I am bored.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I would say I'm
think
bored.
that there's times where I do I mean, if you through them know me at all, like I do adventures by myself. Like I have no problem going to the movies, going on trips by myself. I will do it. And I enjoy it. I really do. But would it be funner with someone by
Not a
my
word.
side?
Isn't it more fun?
Would it be funner? More fun.
For me, it would be funner.
It would be funner. Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
for the grammar check there. But yeah, no, would it be more fun with somebody? Yes,
Yeah.
it would. You
Having
know.
an eggplant along for the trip would be amazing.
What is that?
Eggplant emoji.
I don't understand.
Wieners.
He's
Is
full of it.
Oh no, I don't.
You really don't?
Oh no,
Your
now I
bottom
understand what you're
half,
saying.
yes.
So the eggplant emoji, right? I'm usually used to seeing that with then the water after it.
Yes.
Ugh.
Which, yeah, I mean
Ew.
that's what usually is there.
Wait, is that coming from a woman?
Do women send you
Oh, and for the record, I've never sent that emoji out. No,
Oh,
but
I
like
could not imagine you
in all the
sending that out,
memes,
no.
in all the memes in the world that you see, like
okay.
you know, Family Guy, even Progressive has
is
a
it?
commercial
Is
where,
that eggplant emoji?
well, in Progressive, you know, where it's like you're getting like your parents.
Yeah.
All those commercials where it's like you're turning into
yeah.
your parents, and he looks over and the woman's on the
those are
phone, and
funny.
he goes, "Just because it's a plant doesn't mean they're talking about plants." And she's like, "Oh," and obviously they're hinting at that.
Yeah,
But
that's so funny.
no, I have never sent. Speaking of, I've never sent dick pic, I guess we can say.
Thank God.
I've never in my entire life. Now, I have received plenty of photos.
Oh.
I have had some Skype conversations, that, you know, video conversation, but I have never sent
Thank you.
out in the universe like here's my thing, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so weird to me. It's just so odd. I've never been that impressed by it where I feel the need to
Don't
show
worry.
the world.
Neither were any.
I don't
neither was
understand.
anybody
Yeah,
else.
I mean, it's also no one's ever shown me a picture of theirs, like where it's
up
like, hey,
close.
what do you think? I'm just like, you know, like
There
I
it
don't
is.
understand that world, but yeah, static photos are very odd to me. But during COVID, there was definitely
There was a lot,
there was a
yeah.
lot of interesting things during COVID. But, Yeah.
Well, this was really great to have a gentleman on today.
Yes.
Am I still a gentleman after
Yeah.
everything I've said?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think with just not sending the pics,
Yeah.
you
You're already a
have
step
gotten
ahead.
this- Yep.
So wait, you guys have gotten them unsolicited, right?
Oh,
Yes.
gosh.
I mean, that's literally sexual assault, isn't it? I
In
believe
my
it
eyes,
is.
feels
I think it
assaulted,
depends
yeah.
on the pic.
You mean if it's good, then maybe it slides? No, but I do find that to be so strange that a man would send it without it being.
Provocation.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
bizarre. To
Well,
me.
and to me, it's yeah, that's weird. But also, like, what is the reaction that you're expecting? Are you expecting me to be like, oh my god?
Yeah, get that inside
That
me.
is-
Yeah.
No, it's there's nothing like, I'm sorry, there's just nothing really attractive about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like it. I do, but I'm just saying that I don't need to see a picture of it.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think the unsolicited thing is because it's one thing if you're like talking sexy and then she's like, oh, let me see, and then you send it. That's totally different. But like the whole idea of that,
No.
it's
Good
just
morning.
like bam. Yeah, I don't. It's just fascinating to me. I don't-
Yeah, tell your
Rise and
friends.
shine.
Yeah. No, I don't have. But I don't have those friends. That's what. At least I don't think I do. But
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so vulnerable too. Like that's how I feel. Like, I mean, I'm not a big sender of photos, but I've done it with people that I have definitely felt a deeper connection to, and but then you're kind of like, did you like it? Like, what's your thought?
Yeah.
Like if you don't get that feedback, you're like,
Yeah, I guess it could really
I
make
just
you
put myself out.
insecure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like okay, where
I
are
guess
we
men
now?
aren't worried about that, Like,
no,
guess
but I
maybe
think
they-
I am. I
maybe
think
they
that's why
are.
I don't send
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
like I'm.
I
Yeah.
can't face the rejection.
No, hell no. Yeah, I'm Irish. I'm not hiding anything. Yeah, I'm perfectly average. There's nothing special going on.
This was great. This was fun. Anyways, well, you guys,
Thank you for joining us
Yeah,
today.
thanks for having.
this is great. And
Yeah.
This is great.
shall we? We're gonna have.
Oh, I got a
fourth
little
lesson.
tiny sip left. Here.
This
Cheers.
was a great drink.
Yeah,
Make
it
this
was
one.
delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find it on our Facebook or Instagram.
What is it? What can you find?
The drink, a spicy
Thank you.
strawberry jalapeno margarita.
Yeah, it's
right.
really, really
And
good.
thanks for adding the spice today, Tim. We appreciate
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I think I cursed enough for you guys, so that's
Oh, we love
that's
it.
the spice. Yeah.
Cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers.